Oh, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to this month's webinar, which is all about brand pitching. We're excited to jump into that. So every month, if you're not familiar with how this works in the Tastemaker Collaborative, we have a different theme, and then we host a webinar with an expert on that topic about the theme. So Chandice and myself have done a lot of work working with brands, pitching people, not just necessarily even brand work, but really in order to make money anywhere, right? You have to be able to know how to pitch. So that's a very valuable skill. And so we're here to share some of our secret sauce, our process, our experiences. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Abbey Rodriguez. I'm the founder and CEO of Tastemaker Conference. And this is my business partner, Chandice. She's also the sponsorship director. So I'll let her introduce herself and we'll jump into it.
Hi, I'm Chandice, and I love working with brands. It's one of my favorite things to do. From the reaching out and finding the perfect brand to pitching, hitting them on. If everyone wants to just push mute, that would be awesome. Just until we're ready. Then we'll turn it over. But I love working with brands. They're fantastic, and I've had a lot of fun working with wonderful people and with some of you who are part of our pricing and pitching workshop. So Abbey and I both have a huge passion for working with brands and helping you charge what you're worth and make money from doing this wonderful job that you love, which is why we started the pricing and pitching workshop, that is an in-depth 4-week program, one-on-one with Abbey and I to find out exactly what your work should be priced at, customize those pitches, reach out to brands, mock phone calls. It's so much fun. But before, that is something we do, but we also wanted to get all of you here together to just chat about it, shoot the breeze about pricing and pitching. So Abbey and I had discussed how I'm sure right now there are a few questions on your mind that you're like, I can't wait till the end. I have I have to ask this question. I have some things right in my mind that I want to ask. So we'd actually like to start in more of an untraditional way by asking questions first to get everything going, and then we'll flow the conversation through there. So with that, who has a burning question about pricing and pitching that we can answer for you right now?
And also in terms of housekeeping, you can go ahead, because this is a small group, go ahead and unmute yourself. You can raise your hand and unmute yourself and just ask questions. Or if you're not comfortable doing that, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat box, because without questions, we're just going to be sitting here. I feel like a teacher being like, okay, I'm just going to wait until somebody talks and speaks.
Yeah, we have lots to talk about, but we'd rather let you guys ask the questions first.
Okay, Jocelyn, you're up.
Hey girls, how are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yes, my question is always has been, it's kind of confusing, right? Because we don't want to work for free, but how do we get the brands to notice us and or how much do we need to do so they notice us, so they want to pay us to promote them? Is that?
So how to get the brands to notice you?
Without doing anything for free. I thought you say you shouldn't do anything for free, but I feel like we need to promote them somehow and post something about them on social. But how much of that do we do? So we're kind of not giving away the farm, and then they don't want to pay you anymore.
Right.
Do you want to take this first, Chandice, or you want me to give my thoughts?
I want your thoughts too. But what I was going to say is we have our own social platforms for our blogs, and I like to naturally mention brands when I'm using them. If I'm cooking dinner and I'm using a chicken broth from Pacific that I love, then I'm going to say, and I love this Pacific chicken broth. It's fantastic. And then kind of just continue on the conversation, but I'll tag them. Doing that naturally is what shows them that you can organically work their products into a partnership as well that doesn't feel forced or paid. It feels organic. And so I start doing that now with the brands that you love, and especially with the brands you want to work with. And think about your level. If you have a smaller following, then maybe think of some smaller mom and pop shops of stuff that you love and use already that you can tag. Plus, it's just a really great B2B type of promotion there. And Abbey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there are two sides of the same coin with the conversation around you should get paid for your work. And absolutely you should. However, you have to put in the time and energy to develop your skill set first before you can demand to get paid. Kind of like, we could use the analogy of, say you want to be an accountant and you decide, okay, I can work a spreadsheet, I should get paid. But obviously you haven't done the training and put in the time and energy and education that you need, and just simply, practice in order to develop the skill set that actually can back up the ask that you're making. So I do think that there is some of a little bit of a learning curve there, and a little bit of a growth spurt that everyone has to go into, and accepting that and realizing it, that I need to hone my craft first. And then when I feel really confident that I can create a product and offer a service to a brand that is going to be an ROI for them and be a really like high value piece of content for them that they can use in multiple ways, then you can start having that conversation of, okay, I need to get paid. And to back up what Chandice said, the way to do that and get that practice is to naturally be putting their products in the things you're making anyway, because you're going to have to make content as a food blogger, as a food creator anyway. That's what we're doing. So it makes sense to utilize their products organically. Then you have your own little portfolio essentially, as you've been shooting content, tagging them over the months, years, however long you're doing it, to the point where you feel comfortable to move to that next step in your business.
Okay. Thank you. That makes sense. So having said that, would you focus solely on social media to promote them and not necessarily write a blog post on it?
That's what I would say. I don't usually include brands in my blog posts unless it's a brand that I use all the time. Like for me,
Okay.
with being gluten-free, I always use Canyon Bakehouse bread. So when I'm mentioning like bread, or if you're going to do gluten-free, I love Canyon Bakehouse. Just super simple. You know what I mean? Because I already work with them so often that I'm like, even if they're not paying me for that post, that tiny sentence in there just lets someone else who's reading the Easy French Toast Bites post know that, which bread does she like? Oh, I like Canyon Bakehouse. So it's super simple. Something like that. But I wouldn't write a whole post for them for free.
And from a user experience perspective, Jocelyn, I would say that putting their products and linking to them in your recipe card within the actual post, if it makes sense and it's going to help the quality of your recipe. Like as I am also, I have celiac disease as well, like Chandice. And so I have to use very particular ingredients. Like I only use King Arthur's 1-to-1 flour, because in my opinion, like that's the only flour for me and my recipes that I make that work, that the outcome works. Because if people are going to be using different things, the end product of the recipe might not turn out. So again, I think it just needs to be a really natural fit, and it's something that you're doing all the time, not doing it with this ulterior motive of just like, oh, I'm only using this product because I want them to pay me.
Well, and when you do your recipe card, usually you're linking, if you're working as an Amazon affiliate, everyone's trying to build up that, right? Then you're probably already linking to brands anyway. You're just searching on Google, finding the brand for vanilla or whatever, and you're doing it anyway. So to across the board be linking to that same brand in all your recipes lets them know, that lets your reader know this is a trusted product from this blogger, and also the brand know, hey, they already use our stuff and they love it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Joss.
All right. Lori, you see that your hand is up. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Oh, you're on mute. Let's get it
on. Okay. Hi, how are you? Good to see you girls and everybody. To piggyback on what Jocelyn asked in regards to, tagging brands on Instagram and all of that. And my Instagram following is dismal because I don't, like you said, I don't put the time in. I really don't, because I personally don't get the ROI. And I know I'm probably, I'm not making a huge effort with brands. It's been one of my goals for later this year. So my question is two-part. Is there, sorry, the dog seeing something out the window. Is there a better time of year, to start pitching to brands? I know obviously before Q4, I would imagine. And then also, I had a brand that I love and use them all the time and have tagged them and they've reshared my stuff. But I get back, we don't work with anybody less than 5,000 followers. And how do you position yourself in a way? I know as a recipe developer or as a food photographer, it are two ways, but do I just have to put the time in and get above that level if I even want to work with the brands I want to work with and just bite the bullet? Do you understand all my questions here?
I would personally respond to that brand and say, thank you so much for letting me know. For me, engagement is much more important than follower count. And I have a fantastic engagement. My engagement is 38% on my story, whatever. And talk to them about sell yourself, telling them why your audience is, you can have 100,000 followers, but if the engagement is 2%, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And so I would really talk about your engagement and your audience and how it translates for brands.
Okay.
But I do think, yes, it's helpful to have a certain number of followers.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think I just have to put that time in, to make that part happen probably. So I thought you might.
To follow up with that, Lori, I also think that there is a lot of value in just understanding your bandwidth and what your financial goals are.
Right.
And being like, do I even want to waste my time? Not waste.
I know.
I want to use my time to build Instagram when I could be using that time to be building my SEO so that I'm making more money.
Which is what I've chosen to do, and focus on that, web stories and a couple other ideas. So that's what I've done. But there's still this out there, that I feel like it's something I should be doing. But you're right. If maybe it's more of a should than anything.
Yeah.
That, like that saying, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And like you, Abby and I have chosen, if you look at our Instagram, we're not very engaged. I feel like this year, I've posted maybe 12 times the entire year, or maybe not very much, as far as static posts, because the ROI is not there either for me. I enjoy my community there, and it's for the community that I still show up and post a story every day, but it doesn't return to ROI for me. And so, like you said, I would rather focus on building my SEO and building my organic search traffic and my newsletter, because they bring me ad income that's passive while I'm sleeping,
And Lori, it's good to take those stats and get on a phone call with the brand and say, hey, I know you're looking for Instagram content, but what I can offer you is X, Y, and Z with my blog. I have this many sessions and views. This is the traffic you're seeing. It's only going to increase with time. There's a lot of longevity with a blog post because of SEO that you're focused on, and with your newsletter, and really communicate your value proposition, right? Don't let them dictate to you what they think your value proposition should be. Your job is to say, no, this is what I can offer you, and just be really confident in what you have built.
And selling your web stories, you could even do that because you have a huge benefit there. And I don't think brands even know that's an option. It's like, oh, an Instagram post and a blog post, these are the only two options. No, there's amazing options for photography out there. There's amazing options for maybe a package of 3 Google web stories.
I know. I thought about that, Chandice, and to start doing a web story thing for brands, because I don't even think they realize that that's something that they could be doing to position, themselves, especially like this one particular brand I'm thinking of. So
they don't. The brands don't know. So you guys have to tell them just what Abby said. You tell them where your value lies with your audience and your work. Maybe Instagram isn't that, but here's what I can offer you. I think that's great.
Thank you. Thanks.
A little package of Google web stories, because nobody can do that quite like you.
No, thank you.
And, it looks like Jocelyn was asking Abby. This is a question for Abby because she is our math queen. I am not. What is a good engagement rate, Abby?
I mean, there's a lot of varying opinions in the industry around this, and there's different ways to calculate it. And how we calculate it within our workshop is basing it off of the people that are actually seeing your content. So the traditional way is to take your entire following and then divide the engagement and likes, all of that, off your post. So say you have 10,000 followers, let me get my phone here. Say you have 10,000 followers and your post got 400 engagements. That includes comments, shares, likes, all of those things. So 400 divided by 10,000 would be a 4% engagement rate. So if you're calculating it that way, anything nowadays, because engagement has dropped just because of the nature of how we as consumers are using social media and consuming content on the internet, it's so video driven, right? That we really just kind of scroll. We're not necessarily commenting, we're liking, or we're just scrolling through things and sharing, right? Lateral shares are also a really good metric right now, just because that is how people are engaging with the content, right? Think about how you as a user are interacting with content, right? Like for me, I'm watching videos and I'm sharing them in stories with my friends and other people. So in that regard, think about that. But also the way we also like to calculate it is to take, say you posted something and it reached 3,000 people, because even if you have 10,000 followers, not everybody's going to see it. That's just not realistic. So say you have 3,000 and you still had that 400 engagement. So 400 divided by the 3,000 is going to be a 13.3% engagement rate. So I like to do that because I think that is more accurate to say, hey, these are the amount of eyeballs that are generally getting onto my content. And then you can take an average of that. So you can take your top 5 and then average. So say it's 12 and it's 13 and it's 15, you're going to add that all together, divide it by 3, and that's going to be your average. You can take an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet. They can do all those formulas for you in there. We also work through all of these metrics and doing all of the math for you in the workshop, if you sign up for that. So, but that I would say is a good place to start. So Jocelyn, to answer your question, if you're doing it the first way, anything above 2%, and anything I would say above like 8 or 9%, the other way is good. If you're in the double digit territory, I think that you're doing a great job.
And she said she's looking at Instagram stats and insights. Do you know much about those, Abby? That you
yeah. So for example, let me just pull up my Instagram.
You are on double digits, Jocelyn. Yay, that's great.
Okay. Everybody's
hurrying and doing their numbers.
So let me. Okay, I don't know if you can. It's blurry. The latest reel I posted got insane engagement because I did a remix and tagged that brand in it, and then they reposted it to their stories. Again, that is the nature of how things are being shared on social media these days. If you want to get traction, you need to be creating things that are going to get lateral shares and be tagging people that could be relevant, with the hopes of like that they're going to repost it and share it with their audience too. And if it's video, you're going to have an easier time getting it laterally shared. So if I look at these metrics, so you go to the 3 little dots and click, hang on, let me take the blur off my background so you can see my phone. Okay. So can you guys see my phone? Yes. So here I clicked on the dots on view insights. I had 37,000 plays, 222 likes, 4 comments, 56 shares, right? That's huge. And 28 saves. So you're going to, so the accounts that it was reached was 37,000 accounts. And then you could take all of the content interactions there, which it gives you that number, which is 310. It gives you likes, shares, saves, comments. So for me, even though like this performed well and it had a lot of views, like that engagement rate is going to be smaller because 310 divided by 37,000 is 8%, which I think is still great. There's a lot of things that you can work with there because eyeballs are also good in terms of marketing. Brand awareness is a huge part of marketing and communication. So, but most of the time, you know, my other posts, for example, so this food content right here, I'm going to click this, go to view insights at the bottom, and you can see it reached 6,100 accounts, and it had Okay. And the weird thing about this is sometimes it doesn't calculate all of those for you. So you'd have to manually do it. So 80 plus 40. So that would be 120 plus 9 plus 5. So I essentially had 134 engagements here. So with that one, 134 divided by 6,100 is like a 21% engagement rate. 21.9, you could round up to 22%. So that is a good way to do that. And here's the nice thing about all those metrics is that you can screenshot things and you can show people and explain to them why the engagement rate is important, why that matters. And you can show the value that you provide. Like, this many people are engaging and seeing the content, and this is what I can do for you. And even if you only have, 500 people seeing it, there's still value in that. I always like to think about Tastemaker Conference. When we're all together, there were 300 of us, maybe 350 total that were there. Not even, I think there were 300. It's a lot of people. 300 people in a room is a lot of people. And so I think sometimes we devalue our humanity in social media, and that we need to remember that all those people that are being reached are actual human beings behind a computer screen. And so to get into this whole headspace of we need 100,000 followers or 5,000 or whatever metric the brand is looking for, I get it. They speak in numbers and they speak with data, but it's also our job, I think, to bring it back to humanity and creating content for people in a way that is valuing human beings. I'm getting off on a rant there because I study that in school right now on the other flip side of things. So I have a lot of perspectives coming in on it.
So we're going to do a webinar on that. Yes. We have a specialty speaker who's going to come in and talk about the mindset as an influencer and not devaluing ourselves or really tying us to a certain number or engagement. We are people, we are artists, we are creatives, and we've done kind of ourselves a disservice. And so we're excited about that webinar too.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance of being able to deliver the metrics, but also maintain a sense of humanity, just like Chandice said. So that will be a fun conversation another day. Lori is asking, what is a remix? So that's actually a really fun way, I think, to get lateral shares and engage with people. So if you go to somebody's story, let's see, Lori, you asked the question. So I'm going to see if I can remix any of your content that you've done. Oh, look, one of your reels is about Tastemaker. So if I go here and I click on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner and I remix this reel, I can record my reaction to your reel, essentially. So I could be like, oh my gosh, that's me on Lori's screen, or do whatever. And then you can post it and you can tag the person that whose remix that you made, and you can have a lot of fun with it there. So a good tip for growth.
He also asked, is there a better time of year to pitch? Is it worse in the summer?
Oh, yeah, that was your second question. Chandice, I'll let you answer that one.
Okay, and then I'll let you come back to the remix for Jocelyn because that's not my thing, and I'll let you do that. I think that, yes, of course, there's always the Q4 is the dream time, right? And you're going to be pitching them. Actually, you're going to be pitching for Q4 in the summer because they're planning their content for Q4 out a lot. So you don't want to wait until October to pitch for December. That's too late. So actually summer is a good time to be pitching for Q4. So you're always thinking a little bit ahead. So right now, what is it? April, almost May. You're going to be probably pitching your back to school content, your end of summer blowout stuff, end of summer barbecue stuff. So really a few months ahead. So no, I don't think there's a better time necessarily other than that little cushion for Q4. Of course, it's a little bit better, but really any time of year you can be thinking a few months ahead. So like when we were working with people in our workshop in January and February, we were talking to them about pitching brands for no-bake summer desserts and some, ice cream things, cold no-bake or cold pasta dishes or salads or whatever. sorry, and so I'm going to follow this up. Rebecca says, I always hear this advice about pitching, but every time I pitch this far ahead, brands have told me they're not working that far ahead. Is there any good advice for pitching brands that need quicker turnaround time? So yes, so a lot of the bigger brands are working far out, but you're right. Some of those smaller brands are like, listen, we're only working like a month or two out. So just pull that back a little bit. And if today is April, May, then start pitching them for June, and thinking about that. So you're right. I think some of the smaller brands don't even know what their marketing plan is yet. So that's where you get to come in and be the expert and tell them, hey, now's the time to start thinking about your summer content. I have some really fantastic ideas. I'd love to hop on a call and talk to you about those. And then there are some brands, like you said, that need a quick turnaround time. And maybe they're like, we're doing something for the month of May. Like it's 2 weeks out and they're doing something for Celiac Awareness Month in May. And you're like, okay, fantastic. And that's where you become ever the leader in the field and say, fantastic, I have really great ideas for that concept or whatever it is their goals are. Asking them what their goals are will help you be able to do that confidently.
Yeah.
What's your advice for looking for long-term partnerships versus one-offs, or is the one-off the way to start? I love long-term partnerships. I think everybody does, right? That's the dream. But sometimes brands really want to see that one-off before they'll give you a long-term partnership. I would start by saying, I have for 3 partnerships and beyond, I have a discount so that you can get that ball rolling ahead if they want to think about that. But I think that letting them know you have your discount, you may have to do that one-off just to get in there and show them what you do. Abby, do you have something to lend here to this?
Yeah, and I agree with what Chandice is saying, that a lot of times they want to see how you partner together. And so it's a little bit of a trial period. But I have also had a lot of success in saying, hey, I don't like to do one-offs. I will test your product and work with it. And if it's something that is a really good fit for me, I would love to discuss a longer term partnership. And then, as Chandice mentioned, you can create a bundle rate essentially and say, hey, I would love to create, 4 pieces of content for you over the course of 4 months, 1 a month. The great thing is you get to decide what that calendar looks like or what that bundle looks like, but then you can offer, anywhere from a 10 to 15% discount on your traditional rate if they want to, pay in full or however you want to structure your agreement with that. But that is actually a really good way to make sure that you are having reliable income, because I think that is the most important thing for creators with long-term partnerships is you can then do your cost analysis and your financial projections of, okay, I know I have this partnership for the next 6 months. It's going to pay me, the brand revenue goals that I'm trying to hit. So then you're not having to burn yourself out with trying to scramble and be pitching people constantly all the time. But like Chandice said, it takes time. Like as she was mentioning earlier with Canyon Bakehouse, your partnership and relationship with them has taken years to build. And so I think we need to have a very realistic expectation of how long it actually takes to develop those relationships. And I've always say this, and I'll continue saying it till the day I die. Quality brand partnerships are 1000% about relationships.
Yes, definitely. The brands that we work with again and again for Tastemaker are those that we are on a first name basis with. We know them, we know what's going on with their brand, and it's because we've created that relationship. And one thing I wanted to add to that too is that this is a great time for you to tell them why a 3 or more bundle partnership is good for them. And it's because when their brand is exposed multiple times to your readers, it creates a deeper rooted trust. Yeah, it creates deep trust with that brand. It's brand recognition or brand loyalty. That's what it is. And they say, okay, I trust Lori's recipes and she trusts this brand, so I trust this brand. And one-offs don't always allow you to reach everybody, nor do they allow you to build that relationship. So that's the time to let them know, this is why I want to do more than one. A 3-part or more is really great for developing a relationship with our readers and your brand.
Can I follow up with one thing on that I always try to tell brands when I talk to them about that is that whole element that Chandice was saying of it's developing brand loyalty. The more psychologically, the more I see something, the more I'm going to remember it. And when I go to the grocery store and I am sitting at the shelf looking at salad dressings, and I've seen, Brianna's multiple times because Chandice is posting about it all the time, or I have, whatever, a million other brands that there are, I'm psychologically naturally going to probably reach for Brianna's because of that brand loyalty, that awareness that has just been, created through that partnership and seeing her content. And it's really hard to track that. And I think communicating that to brands that there is that value as well, that we can't trace. We don't have metrics and data to trace that, but essentially those are the untraceable parts of marketing that I think people have been trying to quantify for years and figure out, but you can't put a dollar amount on necessarily, but there is so much value in that as well.
And you guys have seen it. Brands, smart brands gather, Canyon does this within the gluten-free community. They take 10 bloggers and they only do 3 or 4 campaigns a year, but they do 10 bloggers at a time in one campaign. And everybody's posting about Canyon Bakehouse that 2-week period. And what happens is everyone's like, oh yeah, I love that brand, because all their favorite bloggers are posting about it. And then, like Abby says, it's happened to all of us, because I've done it too when I've been in the grocery store and I was like, oh yeah, there was like 3 people who mentioned that. It was so good. And so that, yes, smart brands are willing to do that, to create that campaign, maybe less campaigns, but with more influencers to create that experience. So yes. And Rebecca says, when you do long-term partnerships like that, how do you invoice? Do you invoice per recipe or do you invoice all at once? The brands that I've worked with prefer to be invoiced as we go. It's not all at once. They've asked that, because for their budget, they're like, we're doing this one in Q1, this one in Q2, this one in Q3. So you sign a contract that they have signed on for those, but then I've invoiced mine as we go, and they have to pay that before I deliver the product, or within 30 days, net 30. It depends on what you want to do. Abby, what about you?
I've done it that way because it depends on the brand and their budget. If they're smaller, a lot of times they want to go as the content is created just for cash flow purposes. But if you have like a really large nationally known brand, a lot of times you can say, hey, I ask for payment up front. Sometimes they'll say yes. Another way to structure that agreement is ask for 50% of the whole rate up front, and then you get paid 50% upon project completion.
Does anyone else have any other questions along this? I know, going back to, okay, 2 more things. If you do 50% upfront, how do you keep your bookkeeping clean? Is it 2 invoices?
Yeah. So, I mean, something like QuickBooks, yes, you can put all the descriptions of that and in the description line item, and then you can track all of that in there. So I don't think it makes bookkeeping too messy. I think you just need to make sure that however you're sending your invoices is really clean. I personally use QuickBooks because it's easy, it's well known. And then you can go in and you can have your P&L statements and track everything, and you can make your categories as detailed as you want so that everything is very organized.
And Anna said, are most brands net 30? Yes. And you can actually put it in there that if you do not receive payment by net 30, I think some are net 60, but most are net 30. There is a late fee and they'll have to pay that. And I have a lot of friends who've had to do that, and then the brand doesn't do that again. So yes, I think that's something to do. Jocelyn was asking, can you remix, going back to Instagram, can you remix a brand?
Yeah, so I pulled up ThermoWorks because speaking of long-term partnerships at Tastemaker, I mean, ThermoWorks was our first presenting title sponsor in 2018. And we love them so much. They're so great, and we're just so honored to continue to have a partnership with them. And they love the bloggers and food creators as well. So using them as an example for all of that. So if you click on their reels here and you click on their content, so say you're making something with your ThermaPen and you maybe want to copycat one of their recipes that they put on their reel, you can go in to these three little dots and click remix this reel. And then you can like cook alongside it or do whatever, use your thermopan or be creative. If you are wanting to do remixes for things, I would go around and do some research and look for creative ways that people have remixed reels. Sometimes you can do some really funny things. Sometimes it's like fun to tape your reactions to stuff. Like that's what I usually do. I mean, I use Instagram for fun at this point because there is just not a lot of ROI for me because I'd rather spend my time doing other things to make more money. So I think remixing is actually a lot of fun because you can just have a good time with content. So try it out, see what happens.
All right. So it can be Instagram or it could be brand partnerships or invoicing or rates. Do you guys have any other questions right here that you'd like to ask? One of the things that we find that people are most overwhelmed by is, what do I charge? What can I charge? What should I charge? And so that's actually something that we cover more in depth because it is very one-on-one. It is literally diving into your specific numbers. That's the first week. That's with the math queen, not me.
Yes. And so I'm going to drop, here's a link to our pricing and pitching workshop. If you want to go check that out and take a look, there is a wait list for that because we only take a few clients at a time per month, just because it is a pretty intensive, like 4-week process where you're working one-on-one with me week 1 to do all your numbers. And then Chandice, I volley it over to her and she helps you with the rest of the pipeline and utilizing those numbers into your media kit. And then taking that and doing a mock call and putting together the pipeline based on, how to source people and find the people that you want to work with and then getting them on the phone. So Chandice is the queen of doing all of that. So you can click there to get on the wait list. If there's anything else that you want to add about that, Chandice.
Yeah, just check it out and be sure to let us know if you'd like to be added to the wait list. It's a really great program, and it's definitely one that we've seen people have success with. And if you put in the work, and some of it takes a little bit of time to find those perfect partnerships. But once you have learned the tools, then you gain that confidence to be able to pitch yourself. Or I'm sure many of you have had brands reach out in your Instagram DMs and be like, hey, we want to do this with you. And you're like, well, I don't know what to respond. I don't know what to say. So that's really helpful there. One other thing I was going to mention here. I'm just trying to think. So I know some of our brands from Tastemaker reached out to those of you who were there, and we've seen a lot of success with affiliate programs. There's some really great affiliate programs out there. For example, ThermoWorks. I mean, we have influencers in the Tastemaker community that are making a lot of money selling their thermo pens, and it's a natural, again, it comes to that organic, which is great if you're in the early stages of blogging or being an influencer. If you're like, I don't have a huge following, but if your following is very engaged and you suggest something, they'll likely purchase it. And so sometimes we think, an affiliate program, bleh, I don't know if I want to do that. But if it's something where you can have big earning potential, like for example, 360 Cookware, they were one of our sponsors for the cooking class. And we've had a couple people sign up for their affiliate program, and they were given like hundreds and hundreds of dollars of free pots and pans, these beautiful pots and pans to share with their community. And as they've shared, then their community is like, awesome, I need new pots and pans, or I didn't know I needed that pan. That's a really great one. And then they get affiliate income for that. So that's another way to get started with working with brands, is checking out their affiliate programs. And if you have an engaged audience, organically selling them products. You've seen the influencers, especially utilizing Instagram to sell products. It works. People are, my husband was like, where did you get that? Those little sticks that get the lint off your shirt? And I was like, Instagram. I saw it and it was so good. I needed it. And you know what? It's actually been a great product and I've enjoyed it. But I was sucked in to that Instagram share because it it's a great product and someone sharing it. We do the Little GF Chef. It's a monthly box my son gets, and it's an allergen friendly box. And I naturally just share what he does. And then other families who have allergies can find it too. So when you have products that you love, check out the affiliate program.
Absolutely. Not to derail the conversation off of brand partnerships, but before we wrap up this conversation, I do want to mention, since we have Lori here, about our web stories workshop that we have coming up. So Lori, are you around? Can I put you on the spot again?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Um,
If you want to share about that and what we're doing.
I would love to. I'm so excited. For those of you who have maybe never done web stories before, or maybe you don't even know what they are, maybe I'm sure you know what they are, but if you don't, let us know. Abbey and I met together in October and had such a great time. We were at a retreat. And first of all, we all know there's magic in small group gatherings of food bloggers. And when we all put our heads together, a lot of wonderful things happen. And out of our retreat, we all were really excited about web stories. I've had a little bit of good luck with them. They helped me qualify for Mediavine, and my traffic went through the roof. And I have put together kind of a strategy for approaching your site and your market, and to tell the stories about your recipe through Google Web Stories. And not even just for Google, but also driving traffic to your site, which is what we all want. So I also saw my email subscribers double in literally probably 3 to 4 months just from the web stories. And my traffic quadrupled, I think, during that time, at least. So I'm here to answer any questions, but we are having a workshop June 3rd and 4th, live in person at the Tastemaker headquarters, which I'm so excited about. Did you say you had me at traffic quadrupling? Please come, because it's going to be awesome. It's Abbey and myself, and it's a really small group, very intimate, like this setting. And we are going to sit around and make web stories, and everybody's going to get personal attention one-on-one with me and with Abbey on positioning their stories and thinking through how the consumer, when they look at a story, what grabs their attention, how to find trends to make your web stories. Am I rambling, Abbey? What else? What am I missing?
No, you're not rambling at all. I feel like you're giving a good synopsis there. So it's in Middleburg, Virginia, which is a beautiful, quaint countryside that's like 35, 40 minutes outside of DC. So come to DC. It's beautiful that time of year, June 3rd and 4th. And there are 5 people there. We've already sold one. So there's only 4 spots left because it is a small space and we don't have enough bandwidth to give you the one-on-one time that you need. But anytime that we've had these masterminds or workshops, I feel like there's just a lot of growth that happens and a lot of huge results. Like even at the retreat that Lori and I were at in October, all the women, I sat there and just watched her work her magic, and they woke up 2 days later and they're like, oh my gosh, I got 20,000 page views just off of this one web story that Lori taught them how to do. So the whole goal of this is to bring you in person into a workshop, to say, here's how you make it, here's your strategy, and then you're going to leave with 4 or 5 web stories. And not to mention, just hanging out with each other is so much fun. So that's
and that even, I look at it as, the web stories is a huge part of it, and 50%, but you and I both know that even if it's 20%, the 80% that comes from being together, it's kind of like the 80-20. Everyone has something to contribute. And if that's something I learned, no matter what level you're at, and especially I feel like newer bloggers know even more, because I feel like as time goes on, and I've only been blogging for really 2 years solidly, but you get complacent and you have to, or you get stuck in doing the things the same way, and everyone has something to contribute. And I feel like at the end of it, we all left same thing, spinning about Instagram and how to make reels and Facebook reels and all of these little things that at the time we didn't even know about, but it really have made a difference in my business for sure. So
yeah. So
please, whoever
I
wants
put
to.
the link, I put the link here in the chat so you can go grab one of the remaining tickets there if you want to come and hang out with Lori and hear all that she has to offer, because she has cultivated this little space as the web stories queen. So we are very fortunate to learn from you. And also I think it's one of those things too, that if you can get your traffic to a certain point and get on with Mediavine, like the ROI is there. I think it's $4.99 for the ticket, and you could make that back in 5 months with the traffic.
Easily. Okay. Yeah, easily. And especially, I mean, I did. And the timing for me, especially with, I think I really started hitting web stories hard in September, and I qualified for Mediavine by November. And when I started, I mean, I'll be perfectly honest, I think my traffic, I think I showed it to you, Abby, in July, I had 6,000 sessions a month or something.
Yeah.
And I qualified for Mediavine. I applied in November. So, and it was all SEO and web stories. And the other magical part of it that I've loved and have maintained is, my traffic has fallen since Q4, a little bit, but the part that is amazing to me is not only once you get in with the web stories, it's almost like Google, notices you. They're almost like, oh, hey, look at her. She gives us good content. So we're going to give her even more. So my organic traffic grew as well. And that was the part that I just blew me away and has stayed growing. So that's probably why I pulled away from Instagram and all these other things, because I am truly web stories obsessed, as Abby knows. So, and Chandice.
Yeah. And really overall, like the goal with both of these things, so the pricing and pitching workshop, if that's what you want to lean into and do brand work, or the web stories, it's all about earning money, right? And there's so many different avenues and ways to get there. So our goal here at Tastemaker is to present you with multiple options for you to decide how you want to use your time and energy, and then build and cultivate your business off of that.
Well, and the community that you have built. And I will, full disclosure, I was one of Abbey and Chandice's very first mastermind in 2019. So that's how I met these guys, and I on a whim just signed up, and I have learned beyond so much, and the magic that you all have brought into my business and my life and the people that I've met. It's been life-changing. So
thank you so much. That means a lot. And that's why we created Tastemaker. So that is a really high note to end on. So that being said, we hope all of you feel that same sense of community, and that that we're here to support you and give you those resources to help you grow your business. So check out both of the workshops. If you have any questions, you can email me or Chandice, or you can reach out to Lori if you have questions about web stories too, and the workshop and whatever's going on. But Chandice, do you have any closing thoughts? Oh, are you on mute? You're mute.
Sorry. I think the biggest thing is just to remember that you are an artist, you are a creator, and you have great value. And really learning how, sitting down and doing it after this is over, take a minute to sit down, pen and paper, and write down your strengths and the ways that you can provide to brands that others can't. And then really digest those so that you are confident as you share those with brands. So just knowing that you are incredible and that you bring something to the table that nobody else does.
Love that. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today. It's great to see all of you and chat with you. And we will be back in May with another webinar. So follow along the Tastemaker Collaborative for that. And there will be the recording available of this as well that we will post over there and on YouTube. So have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.